I thought he planned to be here a really long time.
Like
Spending the night.
got a sprint plan, so.
One of them has spots, I can't remember which one.
We'll let you know and stuff.
One call at 2:30, the cops were on until 7, then night crew. 4 or 5 hours overnight then. Our purpose of the meeting, so every item will cover. They got the news. Yeah. Schedule, stars, box in a row. And then, two that we have. We're supposed to. Well, we're supposed to be down. But half our stuff that won't be down.
Probably.
Like the old, like the other side, the other two guys.
Yeah, but
All the
a lot of times I make changes.
Oh, right.
Guys ready? Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Davis?
Here.
Wood? Here. Miller? Here. Brower?
Here.
Zelinski? Here.
All right. Go ahead and open public comment at 6:01.
Jim Clark, 2640 Hulbert Road. Point of order, this is not an agenda.
What did you say?
This is not an agenda.
No.
Agendas aren't required for special meetings.
required for any meeting, actually. They are a benefit to the board.
What else? What did you say?
They're not requiring it for any meeting, but they are a benefit to the board.
Okay. Yeah, if you can speak up, can't hear you guys until we get microphones, please. We get microphones. So there's no agenda, but I thought what was posted was salaries and,
Yeah, that's the items we're doing. That's why they're listed as for the special meeting.
Okay.
That counts as the agenda for the special meeting. Those are the three things.
what you're talking about,
Yeah.
okay. So, Rosemary Sportout, with your salary and wages and stuff, what was posted online, your resolutions, there's several errors in there. Like on the treasurer's one, the resolution for the treasurer, you have a date of 20234. Under, be it resolved that as of April 1st, 20234, plus each one of the resolutions, you have the heading of the position, the clerk, the treasurer, supervisor, but then down in the body, it says the salary of the office of the supervisor on all of them, instead of the salary of the treasurer, the trustee, the clerk.
Yeah, this is,
He's just
says the
correct.
supervisor in this. And
Oh,
this is on everyone.
Well, yeah, under
They'll be
both,
corrected as well.
under whereas and also under be it resolved. And then I find it a little, I don't know, under the nays are already non-applicable. So you're
Oh.
assuming that everybody is gonna vote yes?
Like I said.
Or the excused is non-applicable, you were assuming that everybody was gonna show up?
No, actually, what I do is I write down, so if there is a nay, I will write the nay down, and then this will be transposed into the actual, this is just for me to,
Okay, but the nays is blank, so, you know, it's like you're assuming that
Yeah.
everybody's just gonna vote yes.
well, no, because if they votes no, or whatever, I just cross that off and I write it in there.
Okay.
It was just,
And I also,
These are my
you know, in looking at all of this and this was like being brought up, again, and I kind of talked about it last year, there needs to be an independent study done of the surrounding area of the townships, what the supervisor, clerk, trustees all make. So I think that the board should appoint an independent committee, not have anybody on that committee that is getting a salary or a pay of anything, and have that committee look at everybody's salary. The board, the fire department, the planning, anybody that gets, the deputies, anything that the township is paying for salaries, I think the committee should review and come up with a recommendation and bring it to the board instead of, I don't know where you're getting your numbers from.
Anybody else?
Laura Terminal, I have several questions, but I wanna kinda let you guys do your discussions first, so I don't know if, I mean, I don't wanna say things and then it was already part of your discussion, so I'm not sure what the process is, if you're gonna discuss each thing and then take public, like, discussion on that, or do I speak now or forever hold my peace?
I think you should.
We can talk.
Yeah.
We can ask questions during their meeting, is the way I understand it.
You can do both.
Technically, you're not supposed to, but, I mean, we
were discussing.
usually don't push you guys out, so.
Okay.
Technically, in our policy, it says they can't.
We can,
Once we go to
Specifically
discussion.
says in our policy,
Yeah.
they can join in conversation again with time limits if necessary.
For each item?
yes,
For any agenda item.
What's
Oh,
been
Any
seconded, it
business
says
item,
that.
new or old.
Once
Okay.
discussions open amongst the board of the public, that's what the policy states.
Okay.
Either way, we've been doing that, so.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you guys-
So I'd rather
before-
just wait until hear you guys what you're saying before I.
Oh, yeah. All right, any other public comment?
Michelle Sharp, 19751 Golden Drive, Interlochen. I'm just wondering if there's, if there's a declared amount of hours for each position, to justify the pay. If this is already allocated in the budget, is it something that is gonna move up our taxes?
No. That's why I added this, and it kind of shows the highlighted areas. That's the part of the taxes the township gets. We don't set the prices for the taxes. We are responsible for collecting them, but
Well, other than, that's the actual board itself, there are fire departments and
Right.
road that's separate, so those are like the money that comes into the township for operating the township that has highlighted.
yeah, so, and this is on a taxable value of 100,246. It was just the most round number I could get to kind of make the math easy, so people compare it to their own house, but, yeah, we basically get $90 for every $100,000 worth of property value in the township. That's what we get to operate out of. So, we don't raise taxes, lower taxes. The only thing, like right now, we're taking, basically 74 cents on every $1,000. And that goes down every year, that we take less percentage. Property value is going up is what's raising taxes.
We can set the township tax, right, we can vote as a board to change that.
No,
Right.
We can't go
Right,
up higher.
that's what I mean,
We
we can
vote.
vote to put it to the voters.
Right.
Okay, my other part of the question was, is there a specific number of hours besides office time that is open at the township here per clerk, supervisor, treasurer?
I mean, it's kind of as needed, like,
There are some statutory requirements by law, so the treasurer is required by law to be here 2 8-hour days. At the last tax day of summer season, which is September 14th, the last day of winter taxes, February 14th, sorry. I'm required by law to be here 8 hours. The clerk has hours that if she's required to be here before an election, 1 day for 8 hours to register people, I believe. And so average, there's 1 to 3. Other clerks I've talked to said that they usually count on that being 2, so it's comparable, what's required. The other hours for office, we're not required to hold any office hours. We are only required to get our jobs done in the time. So basically, we're willing to have the public come in those hours, and if the public wants us here more hours, especially like, well, I'll speak for myself, I would come in more hours. But I am always here, usually 4 to 6 hours more than my posted office hours every week. I try to not post them so that I can concentrate on the things that I don't want to be interrupted in, right? So I can stay focused on that. But I will always take, people see my car, they know I'm here. I was here today during the day and 2 people came in and paid their taxes. Another one right before this meeting. So I always take them, I will always help, I always put the open sign on the door. I just don't post them so I can do it at my convenience and also so I can concentrate on the work more. Make sense?
I know I roughly do about 30 hours a week between my 8 hours here, answering calls of, this guy's got too many horses and I gotta drive out and look at it, road commission meetings, county meetings, things like that. That's my average. I haven't actually timed it out since I very first started, but it hasn't changed much. If anything, it's gone up, so. I know you're here.
I'm here, yeah. During election time, I'm here more, but yeah. Plus I've been home answering calls and cemeteries and, different things like that, so we're always available by phone, so.
It was a, last, year's pay raise for you guys, I know
one thing for the clerk was basically to be here for election, and that time, I believe we did not have election
We
period.
have an election this month in February. It's part of this fiscal year.
Yeah, I'll admit, I kind of jumped the gun on that, because the way it had sounded was the 9 days was coming a lot sooner.
Yeah.
We thought it was gonna be on the last two elections, and then it wasn't. But
But they-
now it is in place on this election, so.
They only wanted certain areas to be open for the 9 days as test areas, so they didn't require everything.
So your pay raise was based on that there was gonna be, 7 days.
Right. And for this
For one
election,
election, and that's in February. the
So
election
local
was.
elections are not required to have a 9-day
And that was
voting
local.
time.
But we can have 9 days for locals if we want.
Now, but we didn't last year.
right, but
Who
The
makes
one
that
in-
decision?
the one in February is still part of this fiscal year, so. It won't be,
So the clerks, when you're here for election, you're just getting your clerk salary, you don't get an election
Correct.
worker salary at all?
No, but it was brought up.
No, you can, when you're working as an election person.
If
The
you're-
law now allows you to get paid.
If you're an inspector in the voting area, but when I'm here all day sitting in the office on election day, I just get my regular salary.
So is there do you have a set, like, duties, are you in here? Or
If they
do we
need me-
only ever just pay you your clerk salary and that's it, or are we
That's
paying
it.
you also for some inspector time?
I haven't charged for inspector time. I'm approved to be here as an inspector in case there's an emergency and something happens where they need someone in here. Because we have to have that balance of two parties. And depending on what's going on, I do come in when we breaks, when a couple of the people wanna go take a break and so we can rotate. But I'm in the office so that if there's someone who needs to register to vote or someone who needs to fix something before they can vote, then I'm in the office from open to closed until.
So you're in there being paid clerk salary, and then there's election people in here being paid election salary?
They get wages, $15 an hour.
So the increase was based on the fact that you're gonna be in there at least 9 extra days full a year, even though you, like you said, you jumped ahead, but basically it was for, in November, you're gonna be here 9 full days, right? And
That-
you're just gonna be getting the same salary.
You're gonna work the full days, all 9 days.
Or some, I mean,
I had to, all of this stuff came to light just in the past couple months, that now they're not requiring you to be here. You have to be available to be into the office if someone calls you. You have to be there, you have to come into the office whenever someone calls you.
Right, so my understanding, it could be the clerk or the deputy clerk has to be able to get to this office in a reasonable amount of time.
But I
For
prefer to be
emergencies.
here for most of it, except when I'm at my other job.
And that was considered for your pay raise last time.
But it didn't happen. Because
I'm confused.
there was no 9 days.
Myself.
There is an
Yeah.
election in this fiscal year.
right,
Yes, but from April until February, you got paid those extra.
Right.
So you're,
Because we can't get, this was tossed around in the clerk's meeting and went to the state, that we get a separate salary for those 3 months where we are required to have 9 days. Having a separate salary for our statutory duties is illegal. So, we cannot do that. So what the discussion was, is we take, okay, if we have 3 elections, let's take this much money for each election and put it into our total salary so that we get split over 12 months.
So when do you earn the election pay?
When we have the elections.
No, because from my
You
understanding,
you cannot get more than your salary.
that's not the way I understood it,
That's not
that
the
you
way
can
I
get the,
understand it
yeah,
from
either,
the-
that you get the election pay if you're here working as an election
As an
inspector.
inspector, now we're talking about clerk responsibility, statutory duties.
Right.
That's
you're
different than
gonna-
an election inspector.
Because if
I'm
she's
just
an
trying to
election
understand.
inspector, then the deputy's gonna be, gotta be on call, because an election inspector
Right.
cannot register somebody that day, or at that same time.
So that we don't have to pay someone else to go in and do registrations and stuff. I'm gonna be available most of the time.
All right, so I was told by another township, and I'm just trying to understand all this, that they're putting a lot of those duties onto their deputy because the state will reimburse deputy pay, but they won't reimburse clerk pay.
I have not heard that.
And
I haven't heard that
that's what
one
you said.
either, about them not about
They'll reimburse
reimbursing
the
clerk.
election inspector.
They are reimbursing the inspectors for the 9 days of the election.
But the inspector can't be in here and then run and register somebody.
Right.
Correct. The supervisor person can't do that. It has to be someone who is not working in the election.
So I'm just trying to.
So, I thought we were here to discuss
Right.
salaries, not how we do.
Right,
run
right,
an
right,
election.
right. So my question is, because we're voting we're voting for the future salary, right? So
Right.
If you, and just like, hear me out, so if you
Yep.
are saying that you're going to be here those whole 9 days, and we make your salary according to that, come December, when the position may change hands, is that, not, well, then
November.
if that person, okay, November, if that person decides that they don't want to do that, we can't require them to do that, right? So then we are now paying them that pay, and we might have to pay somebody else to be here those 9 hours or 9 days as well.
That's right.
Because we can't hold you to that. So even if you win again and you change your mind, we can't hold you to that, right?
Right. It's just like any of us.
Well, for office hours, we still have to do our duties.
Right.
So why is it considered part of your salary?
Elections are part of my statutory duty. I am required by law to do elections. Just like Therese is required by law to do taxes as the treasurer.
But you're not
Okay.
required by law to be here for the whole 9 days. Is that what you just said?
Yes.
That came down, that said that we don't have to be here the whole 9 days, but we have to be available to be.
You're on call.
So you're on call.
We're on call for 9 days. My plan, I'm not leaving the inspectors here by themselves on this new early voting. I never left them on election day. I don't have to be here all day election day either.
So that shouldn't be considered part of the salary increase. Just because you say you're gonna be here doesn't mean you.
That's not, that's right, that's not what part of it is. Part of it, yes,
That was what it
because
was
we have to
based
be
on
here.
for the raise last year.
But that is what all the clerks have done. And
There was so much confusion last
There
year
was.
as to what was going on, even at the state get-together over in Acme. The day that we were having all this discussion, they still had nothing final. Nothing.
And
So
that's
with-
when you
and
passed the budget, when
Yeah,
everything
and
was up. in
so
the air.
everybody was just, okay,
Right.
so what do we do? What do we do? Because there was nothing from the state saying, this is the way it's going to be. They kept moving it. This could be this, and this can, oh no, this can't. It was just total confusion. So that's part of the problem, is that we did not have set guidelines coming down from the state that didn't change at the last minute.
And do we know that these aren't gonna change, or these
No, we
guys
don't.
don't know, right? So,
We don't.
Can I jump in? Because
well, I haven't.
hopefully I'm the only one here that's still a bit confused.
No, I'm still.
But let me try to recap it in my head. Regular clerk duties, the assigned clerk duties, set by salary. Anything else, we want you to paint the room, we can contract you to do it separately,
That's done as a wage.
as a way. From what I understand, it could also be done as a salary to paint the room, and you figure out how long it's gonna take you, boom, as opposed to paying you hourly. But again, separate from your clerk duties. For the elections, what we've been talking about in the 9 days, those are part of your statutory duties that you have to perform. But it's not, you're not gonna be here, you're not required to be here all 9 days, 9 to 5, whatever the hours are, correct?
Right, that's what we learned over the past couple months.
Okay.
Because we've been having our clerk meetings, and these questions have all come up, and then this,
And therefore, because it's part of your statutory duties, we can't pay you $15 an hour for when you're here. It has
sitting
to-
in the office, no,
Well,
But-
if you're sitting in the office doing
that's my statutory.
your clerk stuff, non-voting, you can go sit in your office and you're.
That's your choice.
that's-
I can
you're
be
the
here,
clerk. You can be here as the clerk, but if you're here doing the 9 days of voting, you're still the clerk and you can't be paid extra for it for the time you're here.
right, unless I work as an inspector, which
But that's not part of the,
that is
That's
not
not
part
part
of
of
a
the
clerk duty. And
that's
so
not
we're-
part
right,
of the 9-day.
right,
So we're actually gave you a raise because you said, I wanna be there.
Well, because she's now on call. Does the clerk have to be on call?
yeah.
Yeah, so
Or
now
her
she's on
deputy.
call for 9 days.
Or her deputy?
If I can't make someone that is qualified to vote for.
And if you can't be here, then we have to pay somebody extra.
Yes.
So why should you get a raise for something that could not happen? That is just your choice to say, well, I'm gonna be here, but hey, if something happens, we're gonna have to pay out double.
Yep.
And you're still getting paid.
Yep, and that's what happened with the recall election, I was still getting paid, we paid somebody $4,000 to do it for us.
Only because the deputy refused to do it.
Yeah, the deputy refused to do it, and then we had to
Okay,
hire
it was
somebody
her choice.
outside.
But we're not talking about that, we're not arguing about that.
Okay.
Well,
We
we're
are
talking a fact here that this is what happens,
That happened.
that
Doesn't
happens.
happen every time. You
No.
shouldn't be paid for something every year because,
Right.
maybe I'll be here, maybe I won't, but I plan on it.
And the board
It's not
can't
your-
require her to
No,
be here?
we can't. And it could change, like I said, if like even if I change my office hours to being here 20 hours a week, when the new treasurer possibly comes in at the next election, nobody can hold her to those hours.
She can
She can
hold,
come and say, I don't wanna do any office hours.
Right.
And as long as her job is done, you could say, no, we're not okay with that, so we're gonna recall her because we don't feel she's, whatever. But you can't make me be here. So I want to be here, right, to be, for you, to have an opportunity to come pay your taxes or to ask questions, whatever, so.
And I think most people that are elected to their job want to be here.
Right.
And the only reason that we would not be here, illness, death in the family, some emergency coming up, otherwise, we're here. I mean, that's my job, I'm here.
Well, it sounds like it's not your job to be here.
Well,
This is
Board
my
meetings-
job. Board meetings are required, board meetings are required, office hours are not, so, sorry. Yeah. Yeah,
by appointment only.
yeah, so, yeah, there are townships that will operate on, appointment only. There's one township, only the treasurer holds office hours, every other position is by appointment only. So,
I think she only holds 3 or 6 hours.
I think she holds 3 hours twice a week.
Well, I'm asking because like we had talked, somebody else asked, what is the normal pay? What is the average pay? I'm looking it up online, the average Michigan pay for clerk, blah, blah, blah. Clerk is $22,484, where, a treasurer's $22,200, the trustee's $81, and the supervisor's $20,060.
let me help you with some of that. For the past years, before most of the board that's sitting here was here, our supervisor would go and collect that information, and a lot of it is not just based on state things, it's also how much is in your county or in your township, because you can't base us against someplace in Detroit. It's not going to be the same base. So you've got to find the medium.
Or is an average?
Right, that goes
Yes.
with our,
But by comparable townships in this
Right.
area, we are by far the least paid. And,
Well, Colfax is still even half our population. But
So there's a wide range.
a large
of
part of it is also
people in
the
this
property
area.
value here. We don't have, I mean, with the state land and everything being involved, we don't have the tax base that like Benzonia has. You know, to pay their supervisors $65,000 to do that, to be supervisor and take care of the weed places.
But he has 2 licenses for managing all the marijuana places there, and the marijuana places are also contributing to their tax base
Oh, yeah.
because they're making a lot of money off there to cover his salary.
Or that way.
So, right, so it
Yeah.
helps pay for that.
And then go township to the fouls too.
Right? You only do what the board wants to do.
I understand that.
Yeah. So,
All right, so we're technically still in public.
But
comment,
last
so-
year I also increased my office hours too, and the other board members did not.
but that was the choice for the reasons that I stated. I mean, if you people wanted me to, I would gladly do that as well, because I'm here anyway.
All right.
So,
I mean, looking at these salaries, you guys have other jobs, right?
I have
Kinda.
2 pensions, yeah.
Okay,
I don't have.
I just wanna make sure everybody's doing okay. Because-
right, I mean, 'cause they're not like super high
No,
jobs for all, so, for all the other duties that all of us have.
Right.
For all the board meetings, for, our township requires us to attend, be on a committee, so then I'm on 2 of them, so I also go to those meetings every month. Today, the 3 of us were at an election commission meeting that all 3 of us are required to be at every election as well. So there's a lot more little things that goes into the pay too that weren't mentioned
Yeah,
for everybody.
I'm sure there is. Trust me, I don't want any of your jobs.
yeah,
But I've had our county meetings that I've gone to, I don't, at their trainings, I don't take education or training pay for those. Because that's part of my statutory duty for the election education at the county. And so, yeah,
That was my recommendation prior to this, before at some meeting, was like a list. I mean, all we can see, the general public goes to the website, we see, here's your hours. That's it. If they don't come to these meetings, they don't know that you spent the day at another training, or you went here, or you. Nobody can see that
Oh, yeah,
unless
and-
they come here and listen. So I would like something like on the website, which we're currently working on, like an about us, here's what your treasurer does for you, and a list of all the extra things, because, I mean, I agree with her, these jobs and him, like, it's not a full-time gig to, you raise a family on this job. But it is still a decent amount of money, if you look at it like, you're only here 10 hours a week and you're making 27 grand a year, like, that's a pretty good freaking gig.
It's like $65 an hour.
yeah, like, the treasurer and the clerk now have
hopefully something.
a computer in,
I
We're
worked
at
4
home.
hours at home yesterday on my laptop.
I
And I'm not asking for like a dot by the dot.
Right,
But
but-
like more general, what does the treasurer do? I mean, the statutory duties list, you go to the Michigan website and it's pathetic. I mean,
that's
it's
what
like
it is,
this
so.
6 things.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to see the board have a list of like, even throughout the year, just keep a notebook of, I did this, and this, you don't need
Yeah.
necessarily hours, but put it up for the residents to realize what value, cause
I
it is a
have to
lot.
go twice a month to measure how far the chicken crap pile is away from the other guy's property.
You
stuff
know what
like
I
that.
mean? Just take it all. Take it out quickly for us.
Oh, really?
But,
Do I have
but at
to?
some point you should just
Yes,
simply
I
tell
do
them, no, I
have to, because
can't.
I think that guy's gonna snap and come up in here if I don't take
Well,
care of
that's
him.
what you, went on the election for, was to become supervisor.
So, I honestly think that it could be beneficial to all of us here on the board if we did an in-depth study, right? Because there are townships that have equal number of people, equal number of office hours, making $36,000 a year, for example. And so, again, people would need to be able to understand that and why. But I would honestly, personally, like to see us not do anything with pay this meeting and to do a study. And then, because we can adjust this at any time.
No,
Yes,
Yes.
we did a resolution midterm for Paul one year, and we raised his, yes, we did. And look back in the history, he's probably got the dates, because he's done more study, but I looked it up.
I didn't look
Prior.
at that deep, but since we broached the subject, I was gonna wait until you moved on. As a point of order and as a procedural point of order, and being the newest one on the board and still learning things, I have become friends with some of the people of the Michigan Township Association. Well, I've become familiar. They might not be friends with
telephone
me.
friends.
Telephone friends. I was trying to put together some of the 30 days in the February 9th, which I think we're inside the window of 30 days for February 9th already.
No, February 9th is our deadline for the 30 days before our hearing.
Okay, that clarifies that.
I just wanted to have this meeting now because, well, he wants this tomorrow.
Well, that I think is far more important, but as far as the 30 days, that does not apply to us. It doesn't apply to, general law or charter townships. We don't have the electorate vote on our salaries. We set it ourselves. It's only townships that have an electorate vote on the township salaries that have to have it in 30 days prior to that period. As Therese just said, we don't have, and actually it's part of the law, we don't have to change salaries. We don't have to vote at all. We can do it before a budget is completed, after a budget is completed. We could do it every month if we wanted to in a regular public meeting. Not that that makes any sense, but there are no laws that require us to do it. So, and I'm not, as you know, I'm not a big fan of special meetings.
Right.
Thank you all for coming out for this on relatively short notice.
Well, and I think that this was good too, because I was thinking that even if we don't vote on this or anything like that, if something, other stuff come up, because we were looking into stuff, that this is a good talking egg.
Well, I think it's great that we're having this discussion, and I am with all of you that think we should do some more in-depth research. We're spending your money, my money too, their money too, but, you know, one of the toughest things I can bring myself to do is spend other people's money. I can waste my money on my own, I'm pretty good at it too. This is your money, and I think the questions that have been raised are legitimate concerns and legitimate questions. At the low end of the scale, if we're paying peanuts, you know, we're only gonna get retirees or people that have, you know, huge pensions that can afford, you know, these aren't living wages. On the other hand, maybe we should double it. You know,
I would increase my hours.
who in the community, geez, I would love to work as, you know, pick the position, you know, trustee isn't gonna get you over the hump, but the 3 positions, you know, if they were living wage positions, you know, are there, you know, which, you know, the double-edged sword for that, for the 3 of you, is you're gonna have competition at the ballot box for the position, because, well, geez, now that it's paying 45, 50, or like Benzonia, 60, what?
63,000.
63,000.
We got to open some hot stores then though.
You know, so,
We're good.
and, you know, how do you compare inland to some other township? Size, tax base, you know, all the, you know, it's a mixed bag. You know, so, but it does deserve some research.
But
like you're saying, if you do that and you increase the hours and the pay for the board members, then there's more to be done, they're doing more things, and therefore, then the property values go up. So when the property values go up,
Property values don't go up, the assessor, that's.
no, it's a good thing. Like, so then all the roads are paved. The trash is taken out, like, there's no like piles of junk anymore because now we have full-time members of the board that can actually deal with this on a regular basis.
Well, great point, and we could be here until Friday talking about this, but a lot of it is, we're all residents of Inland. Why did we move here? What do we want Inland to be?
It's awesome.
Let's double everybody's taxes, and then we can have nicely paved roads everywhere. We can rebuild this building and have sports facility. I mean,
Nobody would even own a house.
you know, what do we want? You know, and there are a lot of people that don't want their property value to go up because they're on fixed income, and that means, okay, still have to pay my taxes, otherwise she gets all feisty.
No, she'll take the late payment.
I take late payments, I charge you.
That's right.
Just remember, if we're gonna wait a month or two, a month to do this, this budget has to be approved by the end of March.
Right, but
And if we don't have this study completely done, how can I budget my fire department that you guys wanna have by this certain date? How can I budget when I don't know what the salaries that I put for my people or for me or whatever? These guys said it, I can't do my budget until this is done, so I know how much money's getting taken out for salaries.
Well,
For my budget.
This brings up another sore spot I know with some of the people on the board. Our policies, our stated policies, which I don't agree with all of them and they need to be changed, but until they're changed, there are policies. You should, everybody that's involved in this should be way ahead of where you are from the standpoint of putting your budgets together.
I am, I'm all done, I just need the dollar amount that it's getting done for the firefighters and me, and the assistant chief and all that. Once I throw that in, then I can move other monies around, right? I'm ready, I just.
don't you have your ideas of what you want for your people? I mean, so you have those numbers, so,
That's why.
right, and you have your total budget numbers based off of the villages, right?
Correct.
But
Yeah,
we can't,
I mean, we could approve,
we can't set your budget, cause you
no,
have. the
but
budget
we could
because
approve
you
his
don't have-
wage is correct, right, at the board meeting, at the next board meeting. So at least you could, I mean, to me.
Right, I don't, as long as it's done, so I can give it to, so I can fill out the numbers, so he has it for you guys to have to vote by
Right,
March 30th.
right.
I'm fine.
We had,
I was just bringing up the session, remember, this all has to be done by
right.
that date.
Well, so we, as far as I'm concerned, like, or my thinking goes, and I could be thinking wrong, I don't know, but we could proceed with the budget at the current pay, right? And then we can make budget adjustments once we have had time to do a complete in-depth study, right?
Absolutely.
Because even if we have all the way till April before anybody's pay changes anyway, so we have all that time to study, and then we can make a budget adjustment. It's not that hard, we do it all the time. Or fairly regularly.
Well,
Prefer not
right,
to, but yeah.
Right, I prefer
Right.
not to do
Well, I
it,
do
because
too.
then that,
I do
then that
too.
tells me I'm a failure because I didn't budget enough money. I hate doing.
It's not a sign of failure, it's just, if you can look at it as a sign of doing a thorough job before we just jump pay scale raises,
Right,
you know.
and I wasn't
pay
asking
scales.
for anything, and I've never asked for anything every year. You guys always do whatever, because I usually have it completely done, and then you guys go and change my pay rate, then I have to go back and change it.
Right,
So that's, I don't wanna do it, I already have it done, here it is.
As long as we're still in public comment. and no one can speak.
So that's why the board.
Are there any people in the, I shouldn't call it peanut gallery, in the audience that would be willing to step up and be on a committee to do some of this review? Got one hand.
I've already got all the dollar
I
figures.
guess
for
one
the
hand
county.
makes you the chair.
Rosemary has volunteered.
I'll volunteer.
You know, and
Michelle?
I would suggest we have a committee put together and give them a pretty short timeline to move this along.
Yeah.
Make it a proposal.
You have to make a motion.
No.
I'm drafting them out
Well,
to you.
No.
Yeah.
No, we haven't made any motions, so technically we could, right?
No, we're still in
This
public
is-
comment.
Oh, we're in public comment, okay.
Kinda.
Kind of, okay, so once public comment's done, you can do that, I believe.
I would like each board member to generate a list of all the things they do. The basic. Not every single thing and how many minutes it takes, I hate that, but just like, yeah,
I
like
know,
different
I know.
trainings that you're
Like how many
required to do and every week.
With the statutory, it's not.
Well, see, that's the gray area, because we're not really required hours, we're required to work as many hours as it takes us to get our job done. So like, there are weeks, I mean, I'll be honest with you, there are weeks that I do my 8 hours in the office, and then, but usually always I have additional 4 hours. If it's tax distribution time, where I have to take all the money I've gathered and I have to pay it out to a whole bunch of other people, I have to do a bunch of calculations, make sure I'm paying them the correct amount, then I'm usually here that week 6 hours extra above my office hours. At the end of February, when I give the final disbursement to everybody, where I have to make sure every dime matches, every penny matches with the county, I have to make sure it matches with Betsy Bus, I have to make sure it matches with the schools, Northwest Ed. I spend even probably, you know what I mean? So it's
Right,
always varies.
yeah.
So I know I have to work as much as the job requires that week to do. So never is it just my office hours.
Yeah, and that's like before every election,
And that's what I want on the list.
4 weeks, yeah,
Just a general.
4.5, 5 weeks before the election, I may not be in the office, but I am, you know, I can take some of my work home and do it at home, because I've just spent 30 hours doing.
I think
Is there a reason
reality-
for the base
reality
of
of the
pay?
situation-
But that's the way it is,
The
and then,
reality of the
I don't do
situation
anything
is
the rest
you
of the time.
guys' jobs
yes,
are becoming more complicated.
I do think that's true, and people are demanding more.
And, yes, and with the townships growing, it's becoming more, I've dealt a lot with Benzonia Township because of the fire station township hall. Talking about with Jason Barnard, excuse me. And he's there a lot, not just in the office, but outside the office, whether it's cleaning up chicken shit or whatever.
yeah, and that's when people don't always see it.
Those are the gray areas that I think Laura's right. If you can put out there, and I mean, you can't capture everything, but certainly to understand that your hours here in the office are not the only hours that you're putting in.
Right.
And I think that's a valid point.
Right, I work on salary, and I have a job description that I add to regularly. So if I want a raise, I go to my boss and I say, this is what I was paid for originally, now you've added all these extra things, that's why I need a raise.
I think that's good for the public to know for when you guys go in for reelection and everything else, but,
Mhm.
What
And I
what
think
is
as
the
we
job?
evolve, when we have someone who is
New.
IT literate, more so than some of us on the board, I think all of us on the board, that as we evolve and that website evolves, then all this stuff that you guys are mentioning will be there.
One other suggestion.
Working with this website sucks.
One other suggestion is, as, you know, we talked about in the last, board meeting, all the postage that you had to do.
Mhm.
Is that really statutory or is that secretarial?
No, anything with the election is statutory, and I don't.
Guidelines, I'm just trying to say. if-
I asked-
Could we hire a secretary to?
Exactly,
You
might get to
could.
that point where you're spending your time that you should be doing your clerk duties or treasurer duties or
Well-
whatever duties, where a secretary would be
Right,
better to do that.
whereas it is my statutory duty to send out absent voter applications and to send out those postcards. It was the clerk's responsibility because the state assigned it to the clerks as well as the ballots, so it is my job. I just started bringing, letting the board know and ask, just getting them to approve my postage and other things that I have to buy for elections. In the past couple of years, I don't have to ask the board because it is mandated by the state that I do it. So whatever, if they told me, no, you can't have this postage, it's overruled by the state of Michigan anyway. So I put it so that you guys, so that everybody knows, yeah, I'm spending $2,000 on postage this year, but after the election, I fill out my forms, and this year, the state will reimburse me that $2,000 in postage. So we're getting the money back, not until the end of the year, but we're getting it back.
So to his question, I have a question. So, if you have a lot of statutory duties that are required as the clerk, just using this as an example, because we used to at one time also send out tax bills, now the county does that for us. And we pay them to do that.
Yep.
Because it is a lot of envelope stuffing and time. But to his note, if we get more and more residents here, you could deputize another person or two to help mail them out.
No, you can only have one deputy.
Is that a state requirement or is that
That's the
our
law.
township? Okay, because I was under the impression that you could put other people, you could oversee other people helping you do that.
Okay. What it is
So would
it's
our,
not two deputies, but one is deputy clerk and one is, that person would be a deputy, but they only deal with election
Right.
stuff. And so I could have two deputies in theory, but they're named different.
okay, so nonetheless, if we paid one of those people $10, $15 an hour like we pay an election worker or another person, would that be a better use of our money to pay that person to help to cut down your hours versus giving you a giant raise to stuff envelopes? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. There's a lot of this.
Right,
For any of our positions,
Right, there
there's a
is.
lot. So, talking it out, hearing people's ideas, it gets, I guess, it gets all of us
Right.
generated with other
Well, I
things
think
too, so.
some of the confusion too is that MTA told you had to fill these out.
MTA said that,
Because
yes, you fill out,
That's not even close to what I put down as my request.
I
My big pay raise that everyone keeps talking about, I asked for
rounded it.
3.2%,
Yeah.
which is like $61
You
a
did.
month. I almost look at like, for the $60, if I don't have to log my time and I can just keep doing my job, yeah, I'll just wait it.
well,
But these are, I only did that so that it all ended up being divided by 12, it was
Right.
an even number, and it worked out perfect.
No, I understand, I just,
This is something we discussed, and it was just there,
my last note on that is,
because nobody contacted me to tell me. what
I've
to
been
do.
on the phone all day with people calling me and asking me questions about this meeting and people contacting me because we give, every time we call these special meetings for things like this and put out salaries, we're giving the appearance that we're sneaking something by the public.
We don't,
And if we didn't do that, we wouldn't bring all of this in here. So I think that whatever it takes to not do this again, or to do this absolutely only in an extreme emergency, we stop doing this and we do this stuff at regular board meetings.
I
Right.
think that,
my issue was, I messed up the dates, and I'll double check with the lawyer. I'm not saying, I don't believe MTA told you that, but I don't see anywhere in there where that MCL doesn't apply to all elected officials, but
From what Cindy told me, and
But
you're talking about our township lawyer? Or
they always recommend we talk to.
yeah,
them.
I'll talk to an actual lawyer who
Yeah,
will give me guaranteed legal advice as opposed to,
because the MTA does not give legal advice.
right, and, me and Teresa have called MTA on the same thing, got completely different answers.
That is true. That has happened.
Yeah.
So, I just worry about violating the law, but,
Understood.
but yeah, if you're saying it doesn't apply, maybe it doesn't.
Well, and
When you read
as
it, it doesn't say general or,
Well, it discusses when there's a annual public meeting of the electorate. In those townships, the electorate, and not just the residents, but you have to be a registered voter. They're the ones that, you know, basically pull the lever on passing or not passing a salary change, not the board.
Okay.
And that's the big difference. And I mean, to Teresa's point, in the past, we've had salary changes mid-year, and you can't do that in a township that has an electorate and a annual meeting where salaries are set. They're set once, boom, each year. If you don't want to change it, you don't have to, but if you want to change it. The other thing is, you also, for those of you that get bored reading all this stuff, you can't decrease somebody's salary midterm. You can change it for somebody that's coming in, but, you know, that's why
So-
costs keep going up.
Well, we're still in public comment,
So,
so, guys, comment.
I guess the last thing would be just, you know, how did you each come up with your own raise? How was it calculated or reasoning?
I didn't come up with one, I don't do it, so that was done for me.
Oh,
That was, it wasn't
I asked for
intentional.
that.
I know, they did ask me to write one out, but I didn't, because I didn't think.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Inflation.
That's all I did last year was the inflation rate that Social Security goes to.
Inflation rate was insane.
Right. So it looked big, but that's,
So what is the clerk inflation rate there higher than, you know?
well, last year we also added in the hours for the clerk. I don't know.
The hours for,
We're just calling 2% by my calculation.
that's what it says right there.
Yeah.
And this was just for board discussion, it wasn't meant that I command this.
Well, how did we come up with 12.5% where the others are at 5% or 3.2?
I just did it, and then I thought, well, that won't work, because originally what I thought was, okay, and I had mentioned this to Supervisor Tristan, is I was gonna ask for a pay raise like this, and then not, and be held to this, not have a pay raise for the next 2 years. But it's I forgot it was I won't be here next year to do that, and the incoming clerk couldn't be held the same
Right.
as I, but
So
That-
do you believe that's a little bit higher than what it should be?
yes, we'll discuss that, yeah.
Okay.
I have my other.
I understand inflation and cost of living and everything else, I just.
That wasn't
curious
what
to
this
hear
was
what
for,
you guys
yeah.
thought.
And I just say on the record that, I mean, I'm only asking these questions, I don't think these numbers are astronomical by any stretch of the imagination. Like someone said, I couldn't afford to quit my job and work this, and I couldn't do this and have a regular job. And so, but I also come to all these meetings and I know what goes on and all the stuff that you guys have to do. So I see it as like, okay, that's good, move on, you know. But I've also been to several of these budget meetings, and watching you guys trying to decide your own salaries is so awkward and uncomfortable, and it's
It
like,
is.
I'm not saying that you guys don't deserve every single penny, but we're just like, I'm trying to
Trying to understand.
understand and follow along.
The reasoning of it all.
Yeah. So,
All right. Are we good on public comment? All right. Close public comment at 6:55. All right.
Can we adjourn now?
I would suggest that, in light of our conversation, that we do, what did you want to create? What committee?
Well, my first suggestion is that we continue discussions, because I think the discussion here this evening is great, but not vote on anything.
Right,
Um,
not vote on anything, but move
But-
forward if we want to.
But I would float a motion that we create a, lack of a better name, come up with a better name, salary review committee that is independent representation of, I don't know, all Benzie townships, you know,
Which I actually have that on my.
You could do other, I feel we could do other, northern Michigan area because
like size.
like size,
Yeah.
like numbers, you know, comparable numbers, population.
Parcels, all right,
Without
lakes. Without having the board members though,
Yeah, there's a lot of them on the other
And
side
I
of
got
this,
two.
you know, like Acme, other ones that are comparable to us. I often talk to Lady Torch Lake, they have more money like Crystal Lake does. You know, but there's a lot of little ones, some of that wages that would be comparable to us.
That'd be another question to ask the attorney.
yeah, well, I mean, I think that would be more a policy thing, which
What was that? I'm sorry.
in March, we're gonna have a all-day special meeting to discuss that.
Do we have to have a board member on any committee?
Oh, I thought we did,
I
our insurance
thought
reasons,
we
it was
did
said, I
too.
didn't think about that. Can we have a silent number on?
well,
Yeah, well, like the land committee, I'm just there. There's 5 voting members and I'm just,
I'll be
There
just
to
there.
facilitate.
we can't be chairs or anything.
can't be
but-
chairs.
I won't say
It'd be a
words.
non-voting
Yeah,
member.
right.
All right, I'll say as little as I can. I would,
But I think the issue is we need to find 5 non-board members first, and then we can put the committee together. But it is something we
can
need
we
to
do
work with.
3 or?
4 non-board members and then a fifth,
Well, if
it
he
would be the
doesn't,
board
But
member.
if it's a vote,
But
if
he
it's
doesn't
from
do
the board,
Yeah, if it's a non-voting
you don't
position.
want to vote,
Well,
then it would be a tie.
what are they gonna vote on?
Sometimes a tie is good,
They
like
have to
Jim
bring
would
it
say
to us
at
to
our
vote.
meeting,
Right, but they,
right?
whatever they're
Because
gonna
then you have
recommend.
forced to have more discussion.
Yeah,
I mean, if they're just gonna write a thing up to recommend and then bring it to us to vote, so they're not really gonna vote.
So we could maybe appoint a couple people tonight and have them see if they can find a couple other people
well, we've
and
got,
do it at the board meeting.
we've got a
It's not
regular
far.
board meeting coming up in a couple of weeks, and it's not that they can't start.
Right.
But you know, authorize whoever is willing to step forward tonight. You know, are you saying you'd be on that?
I would do that.
So we've got,
Okay, let's make the motion,
I move that we create a salary committee, unless somebody's got a better name for it.
don't worry about the names, because I.
To review board and,
Township salaries.
township salary. or
Hourly
township
wages.
hourly wages, in time to report back. Why? You don't wanna put that in there?
No, let them do a thorough enough job, and then, like you said, if it doesn't have to be the 30 days before the budget hearing,
so,
it doesn't really matter to me. I thought it had to be before the 30 days before the budget meeting.
Well,
So,
We should maybe vote to just keep salaries as
Hang
are.
on.
wait a minute, we're in a motion here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's create salary committee to review board and township wages,
And salary.
Wages,
wages and salaries, that's right.
and report back to the board and public.
This is motion for salary committee, it's what we'll call it, like you said.
Do we have to include the names at this point, or?
No,
vote
we
on this
need to
first?
vote on having the committee first.
And we need a
then
second.
we add the people to it.
I'll second.
There you go, now we can discuss some more if necessary, now that we have a second.
Right. Oh,
Teresa seconded.
right, should we discuss before we vote?
Okay, so with this committee idea in place, to cover your butt, in case we have to in fact have a resolution, can't we just vote to keep salaries as are? I know it's a little off topic, but
Yeah.
it's in kind
We don't
of
even need to vote to keep,
Oh, we don't need to,
No.
okay,
just let them ride.
all right, so, yeah, okay.
Well, we have to, we don't have to re-sign these?
No,
No? Okay.
if there's no resolution made, it doesn't need to be signed.
Okay. I thought it had to be yearly.
No,
Okay, with that,
You
so,
want to-
do we vote?
And then we can fix these typos
well, yeah,
before they come the next time.
but you should
Call the vote.
call the vote. Oh, it's all in favor, Dave. So you see that.
You need a second call.
There is a
Okay.
second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. So that knocks 2 agenda items off.
I thought that we kept something in here, but you got it.
Oh, trust me.
Just, and I apologize for not having this previously. If anyone has questions about these things, I'm a monkey that created them. Give me a call, send me an email, happy to answer the question.
Thank you for doing that.
No one can remember that one, so we have numbers.
Did you say that we need to make a motion with members?
Yeah, so Dave is the
Yeah,
moderator of the meeting.
all right. So, Rosemary, you were volunteering or no?
Yes.
Okay. And then Jim Clark. Anybody else?
Trees.
You can pick your own chair.
Jim already said, Jim volunteered to be chair.
He put his hand up first.
He did.
We stuck it to Evan earlier, so.
So there's 2 people on there plus Therese.
Yep, so far.
Okay, so we'll let,
Put that on,
Yeah,
Who?
Evan Worsacki.
any more sections.
who volunteered him, are you calling him?
It's gonna be voluntold.
I'll text him and let he's on there.
They want me to be on that stupid, head name folder, so.
I think Gordon's volunteers.
Okay.
Evan's not a good choice.
So we have Rosemary, Jim, Therese, Evan.
Laura, do you want to be on there?
I'm on too many things.
Yeah, I didn't think you volunteered.
What if we didn't make you come to all the meetings?
In February, I'm gonna ask for a Zoom account for the township so that a lot of these type of meetings can be done that way.
Okay,
Oh, that's not.
so
We'll find your fifth.
I make a motion that
Yeah,
We
just cause like, for like the land.
approve to be on the salary committee.
Yes.
Rosemary Swartout, Jim Clark, Therese Zelinski.
All right, I'll do it.
Evan Morsecki and
Not Evan.
Never mind. Take Evan's name off and put Laura's name on it.
Evan doesn't know we've been volunteering.
so Rosemary, Jim, Therese, and Laura.
And we'll find another one.
somebody else loitering outside.
Well, is
So that was
Teresa a non-voter?
that,
Right.
oh, yeah,
I'll
You
just,
only need 3.
so
I mean,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
that's the motion for those 4 individuals to be on the committee.
okay, we'll do that, I won't vote.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Rose, we're not really voting, just putting together
Right.
Right.
Informational.
Investigation.
But for us to do that, I also would like then, like you said, Laura, a list of what your jobs are
Mhm.
and approximately how much time,
You know,
We
approximately.
I
can't
know.
put
Right.
time on there for it.
Well, I mean,
I know,
it
but-
takes you, what, an hour to type up minutes, I don't know, you know, or it
For,
takes
for
you.
now, we just kind of fill our own
Generalize.
time cards out.
Yeah, just generalize.
Right, so, you know, like, there's a lot, and I'm sure that these guys have the same thing, but I'm gonna use you, okay, for an example. So he came to me tonight, which I often get in my hours in the office, to explain the PRE and get him a form to fill that out, because you would not believe with the number of people in our township who come in questioning their taxes, that's the first thing I look at. And then I spend 20 minutes explaining that process to them, having them fill out the form, scanning it in, sending it to our assessor to get it approved. So like there's all these little customer service type things that we do that aren't and like that's not my statutory duty, but I feel it's my obligation and my duty as the treasurer to help people lower their tax bill, you know? So like, how do you account for that stuff?
Just customer service, 10 hours, you know?
anywhere from a minute to an hour and a half on the phone.
Right, yeah,
That's how it is at my job too.
Right,
Yeah.
like it's just, and then that can,
Who's on the other end?
Yeah.
mhm. Right, and it depends on who comes into your office too. Some people, like I was telling somebody the other day, they come in and they have nobody to talk to. They come in and they wanna sit down and chat with me for 40 minutes, and I do it because I feel they need someone to talk to. You know, like, but then I pay for it because I come and spend 40 extra minutes on another night to make up that time.
I'm going to include in the notes, in the minutes, that number one and number two will be brought back to the board by the newly formed salary committee at the next board meeting. Do you want it in February?
We can update
When it's
that.
approved,
When they,
when they have.
When they have
back to board,
results.
formed salary committee, but at least by March
Yep.
meeting. By March meeting. Okay, so that's in the notes of why we are doing this.
All right, so all in favor of placing those people on the board, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, and then roads. All right, so the town, or the county is doing Hulbert Road and an overlay on Lamb. And then they're doing chip and seal on Reynolds.
Reynolds, Lake Ann Road, the ones that like this area here.
Okay.
Say those again?
Hulbert.
Yeah, Hulbert, and did
Did I
you
say
say
Hulbert?
land?
You did.
You said Hulbert.
Oh, sorry,
Lamb and-
Reynolds and Lake Ann are getting chip sealed. Hewins, sorry, not Hulbert, Hewins and, Lamb Road are getting, redid. So on those, working off of that, I met with, John Ross yesterday, and, we are gonna get reimbursed to finish out that section of Hewins Road.
Now, how is he going, how, did you
How
just give that approval, John, or there's a way to do that?
He sold his soul on another bill, so he has funding coming to his, area for roads in the next,
Okay,
yeah.
so the people on that stretch that didn't want it paved, now they're gonna have it paved?
Yes, because
Is that gonna
in
make
20
them happy?
It's not gonna make the people that paid the
Nobody's actually.
$3,000 happy that paid to be paved.
From
Right.
my understanding, nobody actually paid, right?
Yes, they did.
Well,
How did they
did.
pay?
The road commission
directly, didn't
They didn't pay through
No,
tax.
no, it came, they wrote the check to the township. We input it into the trust and agency account and wrote a check to the county, because it has to pass through.
Right.
So,
So it wasn't done through a special assessment through
No.
the taxes?
no.
Cause I looked that up to see if that was the case,
Mhm.
there was none, so
special
I didn't know they did that.
assessment stuff,
but 2025, it's gonna be part of the detour for 31, so it needs to be taken care of, or it's gonna end up a mud pit.
So are we gonna required to pay those people back any money, or we're just, that's the benefit they've already enjoyed?
That was the agreement that
That's
was
gonna be
made.
through Class A road, right?
Hmm?
That part of Hewens gonna be Class A road if they're gonna, that's gonna be part of the
It's
detour.
gonna be a detour.
Yeah, for cross.
Right.
It would have to be if it's part of the detour. It would have to be if it's part of the detour, but I'd have to look into where the detour's going. First I heard it going down Hewens, I thought they were going the other way down Bendon and, Betts River Road, but I could be wrong.
The last
time
they
they
did this,
did
they
it.
paid Hewens, cause it didn't used to be paid, right?
Right.
Last
Yeah.
time, that's when it was paid.
That became a bypass.
it ended up paying half.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, good on that.
Yep, and then,
Are we guaranteed reimbursed by the state? Okay.
and then, Mohawk Trace and Algonquin, they're just shorter roads that are right off of Hewens. They are already paved, but they they've got paved flat. So there's no water runoff or falling apart and cracking. So while we have the paver company out there, we're gonna get it done a lot cheaper if we have them, fixed now.
Those are private, or
I was gonna say, that's not.
They're not private
They're
roads,
not private
no.
roads.
Road commission did those.
They paid that, or they plow that road?
Yep.
We maintain those.
Is it a dead end?
It's to a cul-de-sac on both of those.
Yeah, it goes down, turns around, comes back out.
I thought that was nice.
But they, Gray Lane, off of Lamb Road,
Virginia Circle.
Virginia Circle.
Mhm.
That was supposed to be a PUD, which the county was never supposed to plow that road because it was a private, or, you know, and they were supposed to have all these things in place, but there's 3 subdivisions in our township that the counties had to plow because the businesses that built those 3 subdivisions went out of business. This is what I learned from Paul before he left, and so the county's plowing subdivisions that were supposed to be, yeah.
Private, right?
They are certified by the road commission though.
Yeah.
MTF funds that pay for those too.
The- Yeah.
Alright, and then, Marl and Burnt Mill are, I just wanna put 100-foot skirts off of them, so that when people are stopped at the stop sign, pull out, it just doesn't dig that big hole that you get from a dirt road transition.
Tomorrow, you really use
It's really not,
that much, does it? Because I know we've discussed this before, I don't know if Mary remembers, but
There's some new houses
we
down there
weren't
since
talking,
then.
we didn't want Marl, roofers in Marl because of the traffic, but
I think it,
for that,
there are houses down there now.
for that cost, is it this cost, our cost, or should, or half of
That's
this?
total.
Okay. So we're saying our cost, 6,500.
Just
It's
for
just
100 foot.
So Hulbert, you skipped over,
Yes.
that's Hewens to the culvert?
Yep, so this one I wanted to discuss. We could either do Hewens to the culvert they put in for that price, or for 17,000, they will build up coming off of Hewens, cause it's all trash down there, it needs to be rebuilt up, and then just do the 100-foot pavement there.
Feelings and what?
Hewens
Culvert.
and culvert.
So just a quick question before we discuss that option. Wasn't there talk last year of building over up to starting that process for when it was gonna get paved with more gravel being put there?
So the road commission is gonna eat that cost to bring in the filter to bring up the intersections to be even with Hewens Road, so you're not sitting at such an incline.
I'm talking the whole road. They were talking at one time of bringing in extra gravel so that it would start building up the road.
We need about 4 feet of fill to actually bring that road up to equal with Hewens Road. So we're basically talking about that 100 foot. If you wanted to make the whole road equal with Hewens, you have to go back about 1,500 feet. And that's gonna be a substantial amount of cost.
No, they said at one time that there's gravel that they normally put underneath the pavement, right? Like, and we were gonna start prepping the entire Holbert Road for that process to be done. Remember
That was
conversation?
discussed, yeah.
Yeah, it was discussed.
And it was supposed to be on the plans for this year, I thought, or last
24 or
year.
25.
Was that our plans or was that your guys' plans?
That was something that Paul had thought of, and I had met him out there on the job, whatever that was last year, so. When he was still a supervisor, but we had talked about it, and it would basically have to go all the way back to the top of the hill in order to make it flat, and he kind of went against it, said that it'd be too much work. So what we came up with now is doing a 100-foot approach, basically bringing everything up to Hewens Road level, so you're not sitting at such an incline or an angle, and then we taper it back from there, going towards the top of the hill.
Is there a possibility that that whole road could be paved at some point?
It's a possibility,
Or is it because of the dip?
right, the
that?
dip on the back, this says Hewens to the culvert, that's actually Hewens to the top of the hill. Thought I corrected that, but, nevertheless, if you go down that hill on the backside, it needs to be engineered basically. We gotta widen it out, we gotta get it 22 feet wide if you're there. Right now it's about 12, 15 feet at most. So we have to engineer it going down the hill with spillways and everything else. And there'd also have to be probably a hill cut. So it's a 55-mile-an-hour road as it sits, but if we start paving it, people hit that at 55, it's gonna be an issue. So.
So it's probably not something viable this year. then.
How many calls for you?
It's gonna have to be a lot of.
It's gotta be
Okay.
widened and everything.
And then that runs over the creek, right?
It does.
Yeah.
The culvert has to be widened.
You were talking about the
Yeah.
Well, the
culvert.
culvert has actually caused erosion issues, so there's huge washout into the creek from the culvert.
So we'd have to probably bring the road up in the middle over the culvert, put extensions on the culvert, as well as engineer the hill, probably have to cut both sides down, widen the banks out. It's gonna be a huge undertaking. something as simple as just overlaying it.
Right.
But,
So it's probably never getting done.
In the future, I think.
No,
I'd like
and
to see
I'm fine with that, honestly, I'm fine with that. As it is, opening it up all the way through has caused tremendous amount of travel and has wrecked the quality of the road. When it was closed to a dead end and they didn't pave over the culvert, our roads were always smooth. I don't know if you lived there then, but it used to be a dead end at the creek.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it was much nicer.
you couldn't get through.
you were talking about Funes Road, not being paved, about somebody being upset about that. Never fielded a phone call, somebody mad that the road got paved.
Oh, this was
What?
the dirt portion between Reynolds and Lake Ann. I don't know if you were
No,
there at that time. Oh, yeah, just ask Paul about that.
Yeah, nobody wanted to pay it, right? Or-
No, well, they
Some
got,
did and some didn't, and the ones
they
that
got
didn't.
mad because they took the trees down.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
anger.
Yeah.
That the road commission was taking anyways to widen it.
Yeah,
It was
the
an
road.
issue already.
The signs.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, so good.
I love driving through it with the trees.
So the few ones to the top of the hill, is that before it goes down to the
Yes.
cul? And that's only that's not 100 feet, how big?
That's
No.
127, no, that's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that we should do that for an
He
individual.
gave
Right.
two options there, Laura. Culvert to the top of the hill or culvert
Oh,
to
I
the 100-foot apron.
Gotcha.
I have a question, because, so from the complaints that I've heard the most in this room in the past and from other members of the community, like St. John's Road seems to be a big topic of needing road work, is it not? Do you not hear that?
Not from
It's on the
last
list.
year between Reynolds and Bendon Road, we put, 4 or 5 inches of gravel over the top of that and regraded everything out and put extensions on the culverts that were kind of down in the hole there.
And that solved their problems?
For the most part, I haven't heard anything negative about it.
Okay.
We hear going down the hill to the east of Bendon Road, kind of gets washed out every time it rains.
Right there, Lamerson Lane.
Right, we talked about paving down the hill, Paul and I talked about paving down that hill, but it never brought to fruition, so I mean, it's something that could be done, but it'd have to be basically engineered going down that hill again.
With what you just said, just out of personal curiosity, sorry, where you improved that road and you added more gravel to it and you graded it to make it smoother, can that be done on like any dirt road?
It can be.
So is that a possibility, doing that on Culver Road? On our end, because like our road, as soon as you guys grade it, a day later, it is nothing but solid
On 31 end.
on 31 end, from 31 to the creek.
Both ends actually.
Yeah, both ends are
Yeah,
that,
it
but
does.
this,
Yeah, it's something that if you wanted me to run it down.
We
run
did
it,
that last year, didn't we?
that's what I'm saying, there was talk of that, it was never done to my knowledge. And the road just every year gets worse and worse and more gravel.
Well,
As a concerned citizen and.
So they never did it?
On Hulbert, I would like to see that paved portion, but certainly would like to see gravel if nothing.
from 31 to,
All the way,
All
well, you can't.
we can't do this
can't-
thing,
Yeah,
but you can do a few minutes in 31.
31 to the drop off and few ones to the drop off. And that drop off is a challenge. But both ends get torn up pretty bad.
So yeah, typically any requests like that go to the board and the board comes to me and asks me for an estimate, I get it back to you and then it goes from there, so. That's something that's Dave wanted, that's not something I can do.
Yeah, we'll look at that, cause
Well, with Lamb Road being in poor shape and with opening that full way, we have become a thorough pass for many people on Fewens and for many people off of Burt Mill to 31.
Well, Lamb Road is getting paved this year.
Thank God, because that should help.
Hewens Road and Lamb Road are both being overlaid this year.
It'll cause a problem, well, that's being
All of
done,
them.
but in the end, it should help.
Hewens from 669 to Reynolds. That was part of the millage, local millage that everyone voted on this year, and that's where we're going.
When's that?
This year.
This year. We'll go out for bids here at the private, or the meeting here today is kind of my fault. Basically, I want to get our bid package out before the rest of the counties in Michigan do to try to get the best price.
Right.
Typically, we go first because we get the best price. If we wait, then basically the competitors see each other's numbers and then start trying to get closer to each other. So if we go first, we usually get that good spread. We usually get a lower price, which is also the reason Inland is trying to do a lot of paving this year, is because Fewens and Lamb Road those are big ton projects, they're I think Fewens is about 6,000 tons. Lamb Road is quite a bit as well.
And we didn't do any paving last year.
Yeah, everything was done in Colfax last year, so.
Right. So with them coming over here, you're gonna get the best, bang for your buck doing any type of paving you have in that area now.
We did other reasons, I asked for a quote on St. John's, but over off of Fewens is.
Right, that makes
their
sense.
cheapest
I
bet
was
right
just
now.
curious if that was still high on the priorities, because I'm not thinking on the list, and that is, when people talk about roads to me, that's when they talk.
It's, St. John's is on the paving secondary, there's a
Yeah,
number
right
there.
next to Betsy River.
It was kind of just a larger number I threw at it, 'cause I know that hill's gotta be engineered, as well as we gotta get
Oh,
one.
there it is, down here. Okay.
320.
Okay,
So if you want a tighter number, yeah.
Alright, and then,
Morrow and Burt Mill. For priority.
alright, so what I would like to ask for is the Reynolds to Lake Ann on Fewens, the Mohawk Trace, Algonquin, Marl, Burnt Mill, and Holbert, all just 100 feet. And then, 4,000 for gravel on, Lost Lake. It's just a small section of the road, right where Miller's at, to, there's a neighborhood back there, that's all private, but to get back there, it's pretty much a two-track.
Okay,
Then there's a little,
By,
It's campground.
just south of Turtle.
It's called Acorn Hills, or it's
Yeah.
Acorn Road, or whatever, Lost Lake and Acorn.
Acorn
There's
Ridge.
5 houses, but there's like 20 lots.
Yeah, but that dirt portion of our road on, Lost Lake is pretty rough, so. Those are the ones that I would like to ask for.
So
I'm open to discussing
what does this
the Fewens to.
total dollar, does it just cover your priority paving?
It
the
covers-
403?
Yeah, it covers the green and the red. So the gravel on Lost Lake, the 100 feet on Murrell, at Burnt Mill, and then Algonquin, Mohawk Trace, and then finishing up Fewens is the 403, which is what we'd have to have up front.
Initial payment.
And then we'll get 237, 484, 60 back from the state, which will leave us at 170 out of pocket, plus whatever we spend at Holbert, whether it's the 17 or the 127.
So that's gonna come out of not the township road tax, that's gonna come out of the actual township?
Comes out of township millage, road millage.
That's what I'm asking.
The road millage, and then some of it will be out of the general fund. I'll transfer it into roads, and then we'll go back into general fund once we get reimbursed from the state.
'Cause some of the
I
roads
did
are
look, and I'm
done.
sorry, I should have done that. What do we have currently in the road millage fund?
Yeah, I know with the amount for the budget of adding in what we get this year, it's at like 320. Plus we have, what is it, 46 matching funds?
I'd have to look,
Yeah.
exact number on that one.
So actually 170 would be our pocket. Because if this 403 is these totals, never mind.
Okay.
The yellow's hard to see.
Yeah, but none of the yellow I'm asking for.
Is the 403?
Right.
Okay, so then 403 is the total cost, road commission's share and ours, so we
Yes.
don't actually pay only what? Let's just say 202, just to make it even, and we pay 202,000.
Well, no, they don't have that many matching funds. No, we pay 170.
They don't do, we usually only,
We have a certain amount of matching funds that's allocated
Right.
to each township.
Right.
and then when they do our other road, okay, so this is coming out of our millage fund,
Millage
and the
fund,
regular road paving that you would do comes out of our regular road fund. That's the general fund,
right.
because we pay,
But we're gonna put more in there and cover the money from the state until we get it.
okay,
And then also, the bridge on Fewens, they gotta drill into that and check the quality, but we need to basically leave some matching funds for that. 'Cause-
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a
At
list
the
for
bottom
that.
of six.
Oh,
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah, I don't.
Not
that
yours,
part, not,
okay.
not real feelings, the other feelings.
The other few is across the 669.
I've got a bear that'll talk to you.
So,
Okay.
we're gonna have to work on the bridge.
Hmm?
And
Yeah,
that's
just
not
close
in this
enough.
budget.
No.
We don't know what that costs.
There's about half a mil for the
Ah,
bridge at one
no,
point,
Yes,
around that.
I noticed the sign.
Yeah,
And we're gonna
no,
pay that?
Who's gonna bring
Yeah,
it?
no, they-
30,000 pounds.
There's a rehab plan.
Water.
Yeah, there's a
Oh,
rehab
that's
plan.
true.
At one point, we had to foot the whole bill.
Yeah, no, it's, what would you say the estimates were again? If it's good, it could be like 50,000, if it's bad, it could be 300.
Yeah, it could vary. We had to get in there. I've been talking with Brad Link, our bridge engineer, and he wants us to dig down behind the abutments to see what's going on with them. Because if you go in the water, you can actually poke through the sheet piling with a stick.
With your finger.
Yeah, something is very corrosive in there typically. Try not to get too into it, but when they drive sheet piling for the abutments, it's two sections about 6 inches apart. And sometimes they'll backfill those with concrete or they'll backfill them with just dirt. We're assuming it's just dirt at this point since it's starting to corrode on one side. But depending on what it is, once we get down there and uncover all of that, we'll have our engineer come out while we're doing it. It could be anywhere from 50,000 for kind of a easier repair, or it could potentially go up to 350, 400,000 if it's expensive.
Are you gonna reduce the guardrails?
We're not reducing anything on that, no. A new superstructure replacement for there, they will not let us get away with the 24-foot span that is there now, because you can see the creek comes in, bottlenecks on about.
Yeah.
So we'd be about 40 foot, which is basically two timber structures. You're gonna be somewhere around $2.5 million. Somewhere in
The
that.
thing that kills me is the reason they put the guardrail up is the snowplow hit one of the sides. Except they put it up on the side that wasn't hit. Perfect.
How many people live across this bridge?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Oh, a lot.
6.
Just close the bridge
Six.
and make a move.
6 of you, and how many houses?
3?
4. Yeah.
Four houses.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
the Reed's is one of the
Well,
Reed's sons
technically, you
was up
could
there.
keep going all the way to Hewens.
You can go all the way
All the way to
to
Honor.
over to Pioneer Road.
I've done it.
It's pretty two track.
Well, on the side.
Yeah.
So-
Much past your house, is state land and just 2 tracks in there. So.
We don't want to consider dirt milling clearance on those extensions.
I don't think so. If I have to go over it.
Can
Where
we
does
look
the-
into the Ross culvert to
Yeah,
do
for
the
gravel.
grading for gravel?
Yeah.
Because you are in the area and you'll be there with gravel
We're
trucks,
gonna do it?
so, because it is.
We have to do something with this year.
I've gone through Tyrod like crazy on my years.
No, it's posted at 30 tons, so you're good. We're gonna get into it. Let's see what we want. Size real fast.
No, we need a motion.
Because we're gonna spend money.
Which are we doing on Albert?
We are doing the red,
Yeah.
just the top part.
Yeah, but it says plus Albert. Are we doing, what?
Oh,
We're doing the.
I'm asking for the 100, but.
Okay. So we're talking 187.
Oh, you
Yes.
just talked, I thought we were doing top of the hill.
No.
They're gone. So now you need to refigure those numbers, cause
No.
it's
187.
purple.
Yeah. This is
You said red and green.
red and green are here. So,
Plus the
So plus
17.
Culver.
Plus Hulbert is the
17.
is the one on the bottom.
yep, so plus 17 on the top and the bottom.
So 187 is the total.
187
So we're
total,
not doing this one?
and
We're gonna add on Brenda
420.
Hewens and gravel inquiries on
Yes,
culvert.
yeah, I'll get with them tomorrow.
But we have to approve for you.
No,
No, not to get, well, much to pay.
Okay, so that's,
Cool. All right, so I don't know if someone wants to make a motion for all of them, or do one by one?
I think,
I'll read them. I'll make a motion that we approve the Hewens Road, the Mohawk Trace, the Algonquin, the Morrow Road, the Burt Mill, the Holbert Road 100 foot, the Lost Lake, Miller Road to Acorn Ridge, and the bridge on Hewens.
Well, that's, we don't have a
No,
price.
just give it
Are we doing Lost
Okay,
Lake?
those. Do we have a total?
We're doing,
Well, it's 193.
we're doing Lost, and we're doing Lost Lake.
197?
Yeah, she said that.
187.
No, it's 193 because I didn't have, Lost Lake in there.
Right, but I already had it in the 404, or the 403.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
Yeah.
it's already in.
187.
Her motion is Fewens, Mohawk, Algonquin, Morrow, Burnt Mill,
100 foot.
100 Foot, Hulbert, 100 Foot, and Lost Lake.
Yep.
For
187.
187.
Should we get a coupon once with that?
After,
187 after,
The state reimbursement.
after
Right.
reimbursement.
I'll second.
Okay. Now we can discuss.
Yeah, now we'll discuss it.
okay, so if my notes here are right, you said we have 320 in the current, or we will after this tax period, in
Right.
the road thing. So we're gonna have a surplus of money.
That's okay. Yeah, I hope so.
Might have
So
to go
maybe we
towards
can
the-
fix that.
Go towards the bridge.
Yeah.
We just.
Between the bridge and, dirt for fueling, or gravel for fueling, and stuff like that.
Well,
A few more things.
Are you
so
saying?
No, I'm just wondering if we could do more for people. That's all I'm
Oh, yeah, no, we
wondering.
can. I just, this was, a lot of this was just rushed because we want to get it in with the same quote as Hewens and Land.
Right, so,
I think for doing more, you know, the paving secondary, either Burnt Mill or St. John's, 115 and 320 for St. John's, you're now, you know, really stretching it, especially.
well, the 320 is definitely stretching it, but the 115 is,
You got 130, you'll have only 133 left, but you don't know what.
You don't know what the
bridge
bridge
is gonna cost.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's gonna be your problem, so.
Yeah.
you
right.
probably should
No, I'm
do
just
that.
inquiring, so,
Yeah. Plus, I mean,
Or just park at Maple
if
City.
something gets washed out, or, I mean,
so these are estimates, these are definitely, yeah.
right.
These
These can
are
change.
the estimates until I
Yeah.
get the bid package, I'll get actual
Right.
numbers back, and then I will rework and put all the correct numbers back in, so you guys know exactly what you're spending.
Because there is a likelihood that costs could.
Right,
Yeah. Because they get a great
I-
deal on asphalt.
or up,
I try to go a little high on everything.
Right.
Just to kind of cover us. That way if they come down, it looks good. But
Right.
obviously, we don't want them to go up. But we have no idea what Elmer's and Reed merging this year. They can't bid against each other. So there's only two competitors, which is Molon and Reed, or Elmer's.
That's
whatever it is.
interesting.
okay, so do we second that? Do we remember?
We've
Your
already,
name?
yeah,
Troy,
You're Troy from the road commission?
yes, I'm
Okay.
manager of road commission.
Thank you.
roll call.
Are we gonna get, an estimate on grappling? Over?
Yeah, I'll talk to him about that later, we'll bring it up in February.
Okay, Brower,
Yes.
Miller? Yes.
Get the answer, sure.
Zelinski?
Yes,
Should I answer myself? Ward,
Yes.
yes? Do you want to answer for me? Good. Davis?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carries, that is it for the agenda. So I will reopen public comment at 7:35. Anybody? Okay, I will close public comment at 7:35. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:35.
thank you for your patience, for everybody here, for talking all
The
this
world's
through.
longest, public comment.